Who are you? What's your role? And where do you work?
Hey, hello, my name is Mauricio Salatino. I'm also known as Salaboy. I work for a company that's called Diagrid. We are working on the Dapper project, which just graduated this week, and I think that it's going to be announced now in the keynotes.
What would you like to share today?
I would like to share with people like what Dapper is a little bit about and why you should care and why you should take a look if you are building platforms. So in the context of platform engineering, people tend to put a lot of tools together just to help teams to consume infrastructure and provisioning infrastructure and all these kind of things. But sometimes people forget about developers. And Dapper actually brings kind of like some sort of solution to help development teams to go faster and build applications that are agnostic of the infrastructure that those applications require. And Dapper does that by creating a sidecar that exposes APIs for applications to consume. And some APIs that this sidecar is exposing are, for example, PubSub, workflows, service-to-service communication that all implement a certain set of things like resiliency, observability, security, and things that companies really care, and developers usually tend to leave to add into dependencies or complicate their applications. And I think that people should know about that after learning about Kubernetes and the basics of observability and security. I think that enabling developers should be a thing in platform engineering.
What's the technical issue that Dapper is solving?
So the technical issue usually is around how developers consume infrastructure. In order to consume infrastructure, you probably need an SDK, a client, or a library to connect to your databases, message brokers, and everything that it's distributed, like authentication, authorization services. Dapper comes to solve the problem of connecting to these things by exposing APIs. So developers that knows how to consume APIs just call APIs instead of adding dependencies to their code. And that makes their application agnostic of the environment where they are running.
And can you share a bit about the before and after of this announcement?
Before, so Dapper is a very, very stable project that was donated to the CNCF in 2019. And since then, the Dapper project has been working on the maturity process, right? So we were incubating and we get a lot of adoption from different companies. And we are working on stabilizing all the APIs and all the components that implement these APIs to run these APIs across multiple cloud providers and also on-prem. And now, since the announcement happened this week, I've seen a lot of interested people asking what this is about. So I do see this project now going through a phase of explaining people what the project can help with, how does it relate to platform engineering, and why teams should look into these after they manage all the infrastructure side of things.
Is Dapper open source and part of the CNCF landscape?
Yeah, so Dapper is an open source project. It's part of the CNCF. It's graduated now. And that basically means that it has gone through this maturity process that helps to validate that there is an interest in the project. And there are some companies like Diagrid providing services around it.
And what's Diagrid's business model?
Okay, so Diagrid offer tools for working with Dapper, and not only for Kubernetes users. So what we offer is monitoring tools, a tool that it's called Conductor, that it's free for you to use. So if you're using Dapper, you can connect Conductor and then see what your applications are doing, how they are interacting with the infrastructure, and understand how efficient your applications are, but also the structure and the communications patterns that they're using. And then we have a SaaS offering that it's called Catalyst that basically offers Dapper as a service. So in this case, what we are trying to do is if you are not running on Kubernetes, we are giving you APIs to connect your applications that are running anywhere, from on-prem to cloud services like Cloud Run or Amazon Application Services to connect and interact with the Dapper APIs.
Who are your main competitors?
That's a very interesting question. We don't have direct competitors here in the CNCF space, but because we expose APIs, I would say that we are competing with specific infrastructure related tools like Kafka or Pulsar, or tools like, for example, what's the name? It's all the kind of workflow engine space where, for example, Temporal works, because we are also offering some workflow capabilities.
And what differentiates Dapper and Diagrid from the competition?
Yeah, so I think that what differentiates Dapper is that Dapper offers you a suite of different APIs that you can combine to build complex functionality. I haven't seen any other offering that offers kind of all these building blocks that you can compose to build complex stuff. And for me, that's a huge differentiation, because you can start small by consuming one API, but then start expanding to consume more APIs that are already provided for you there without adding any extra components or any extra management on top of that solution.
What can we expect next from Dapper and Diagrid?
So next, coming in Dapper 1.15, I think that there are tons of things coming, but one important part is the conversation API. That basically is again, an abstraction, an API that gives developer access to LLMs. and you can hook behind the covers all different like LLMs, and then just let Dapper to communicate that via APIs. But these APIs are a little bit smarter than that because they can do caching on the returns, like on the responses from the LLM models, avoiding hitting, for example, OpenAPI that is extremely expensive multiple times with the same query, right? And these APIs, which is kind of like a gateway in between like the LLMs, also provides, for example, obfuscation of data that is sensitive to your customers. Like if you are sending emails or credit cards, you can actually wipe out the things that you don't want to send to the model. So you know that whatever is being sent to the model is safe for your company, and you're not exposing data that you should.